All right, hey, welcome to The Future is Now, Public Safety Connected, the podcast where we explore the innovations shaping the future of public safety communications. I'm your host, John Paul Jones, Executive Director of the Public Safety Broadband Technology Association. So today we're talking with a company that's been instrumental in building and advancing the networks to keep first responders connected, Ericsson. We'll explore how their technology directly supports fire, EMS, and law enforcement operations, and what's on the horizon for next generation public safety communications. So joining me are Freddie Sodergren, Vice President and Global Head of Mission Critical Networks, Ericsson, and Anthony Lawson, Senior Director, Product Management, Ericsson Enterprise Wireless Solutions. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
So before we get into the technical side, could each of you give us a quick introduction and share what Ericsson's role is in the public safety space?
Sure. And I can start. And of course, Ericsson, we have been building critical infrastructure for operators and public safety for a long time. Actually, we are turning 150 next year. And throughout that history, we have been building communication infrastructure that supports countries all over the world. And the United States is, of course, our biggest and most important market. And here we have been partnering with AT&T and FirstNet to build the FirstNet network and providing the backbone of that network in terms of the radio access, the core network, and the specially built, purpose-built wireless solutions, connecting the vehicles and so on in the field.
Well, I got to tell you, the growth, meeting expectations, just the way, the confidence level that public safety has in Ericsson and everything you're doing as far as innovation is just absolutely amazing. But and from the solution side, let's say, we all know in public safety, seconds save lives. Can you walk us through how Ericsson's technology helps deliver reliable, real-time connectivity during high-pressure incidents?
Yeah, so on the Ericsson Enterprise Wireless Solutions side of the house, we've been part of the greater Ericsson family now for 4 years, but for almost 15 years, we've been building fully ruggedized, mission-grade, mission-critical, mil-spec devices for a host of different first responder applications, things like wildfire, disaster recovery, police, fire, EMS, anywhere we have an agency, a first responder agency that needs to make use of this great mission critical network, they need a great connected 5G solution to enable that in whatever vehicle, apparatus, portable case that might come in.
Absolutely. Hurricanes, wildfires, other disasters, and making sure agencies have the ability to integrate emerging tools like, the Internet of Things, sensors, drones, and the analytics in their operations. I mean, you guys are doing so much so fast at such a pace that, it is impressive. And then, when I spoke of confidence is high in public safety, it's because you guys deliver. So, interestingly enough that, when we talk about, we all know in public safety, as I said, seconds save lives. Can you kind of elaborate on that, how Ericsson's technology, Freddie, helps deliver reliable real-time connectivity, during some of these large-scale incidents and even some of the smaller incidents where, you always have that need for the interdisciplinary interoperability and how you play a role in that.
Absolutely. So everything that we do starts with building a reliable, ubiquitous 4G, 5G coverage network. And that includes hardening the network to withstand any type of disruption that might happen. It includes building redundancy into the network. If any site were to go down, there's a backup. It also includes building intelligence into the network to be able to prioritize the right users and the right traffic at any point in time. And then, of course, when disaster happens, and the network might go down, we need a very fast way to bring that up again, which of course includes things like deployable networks, cell on wheels, but it also includes in the intelligence layer being able to redirect the traffic to the users in real time. So it's all in the foundation, in the intelligence. Then on top of that, to your point on interoperability, we also work very actively in the broader public safety and mission critical ecosystem to make sure that we can bridge these different type of systems, the legacy systems and the new, for interoperability, for smooth migration into 4G and 5G technology, and also to be able to bring new type of use cases to our users.
Well, you know, and thinking about the nationwide, you know, public safety broadband network, which is FirstNet, you know, and being the backbone of communications for public safety, and how, you know, Ericsson is just absolutely woven itself into that public safety grade of technology. When you talk about real-time intelligence within the network to keep that network at public safety grade in real time. Because, you know, as I was talking earlier, when we were talking about interoperability, you know, with the president of the Metro Chiefs, John Butler, and about real-time intelligence and the importance of, you know, from the network side of it, and how that translates into real-time intelligence from our perspective, you know, on the scene of the disasters. Because we're getting to the point where, you know, in the past, you know, unified command setting, incident command, we're always just a little bit behind the curve as far as real-time information. And having, you know, Ericsson's partnership, you know, with FirstNet and within the public safety network gets us to the point where that real-time intelligence then is at our fingertips, you know. And it's impressive, though, just how far we've come, especially here recently. It seems that, you know, through your efforts, things are accelerating as far as that partnership, keeping us in real time. So the PSBTA has been advocating for continued expansion of FirstNet and public safety broadband capabilities. How does Ericsson fit into that ecosystem, and how do you see that evolving going forward?
Well, and John, I want to maybe touch a little bit more on, you mentioned real time many times, and how that's evolving with these new modern 5G mission critical networks. So I go back to the early days of FirstNet when it was LTE only, and it was critical to enable mostly low bandwidth data applications that were critical to the mission at hand by the first responders. But it wasn't as near as real time. Now with 5G networks, with the low latency you talked about, the much more modern new infrastructure, now we can do real time video sync between the body cams, dash cam, and additionally, not only the officer themselves, but the vehicle they're in is turning into a massive IoT sensor, and it's generating a ton of situational awareness and really critical data from the field. And having this new fast modern 5G network allows them to instantly sync all that back to the mission command area, so that the mission commanders that are involved get instant access to all of those sensors, all those data, all those analytics. And then now we're in obviously the modern age with AI. And so now we're going to be able to see where AI can be closer to the edge, where it can faster process that data that's coming in and faster reconcile it into actionable things by the mission commander. So that's the really exciting things that I'm seeing come about with these 5G networks that are starting to enable.
Well, and those capabilities, you know, and merging AI into the picture is such a game changer. But you know, I just like the fact that kind of we're all at the forefront of this together. You know, the guy wrote an article one time who was in the fire service, and he had military background, but he wrote that like the fire service, or, you know, public safety in general, you know, is a response model, not an efficiency model. So when you talk about, you know, the hardening of the system, and, you know, and that partnership with the FirstNet backbone, and why that's so important, and all that goes into creating something that is a response model, not an efficiency model, where, you know, you run where it's like the most you can get for the lowest amount of money, you know, and you know, it's not from a profit-driven perspective. One thing that I respect about Ericsson, the mission, vision, and values that you know, we hold near and dear in public safety. You know, we appear to be in lockstep with that mission and vision and values with Ericsson's in how your approach to public safety. I mean, that is why that trust level exists to the extent that it does.
Agree.
Absolutely.
Let's make this real for our listeners. Can you share an example of where Ericsson solutions made a measurable difference for public safety?
So there are many, of course, but I think when it comes to the first of all, the transition into a 4G based network, allowing for new type of use cases, allowing, even though it was not built for video to begin with, the transition from voice to video or adding video is something that was seamless, thanks to the way that the 4G and 5G networks were built. So we could add new type of use cases and new devices onto the network as one ecosystem in a very effective way. Secondly, and from a reliability standpoint, there are plenty of examples where the network has stood up during really tough situations, thanks to the way that the network is built, with redundancy, with fallback, as well as the possibility to bring in deployable networks where needed. So it's a combination of enabling a multitude of use cases, seamless upgrade, and the availability and redundancy that we build in.
So those deployable networks, to kind of carry on from the connected side of the use case. So we'll use some recent examples that happened in the Midwest with some wildfire activity that happened in very rural areas. Typically in that environment, right, the wildfire agencies, the agencies responding to the fire would rely on, people in pilots and airplanes that are circling around trying to gather a situational awareness of where the fire's moving, how big it is, where they need to position resources. The modern day age of that is having real-time drones that are blanketing the area, that are feeding back, again, all that analytics and telemetry to that command center live as a live raw stream, but also now feeding that through an AI engine to even make that more actionable on their behalf. That is only achievable by FirstNet and their extreme ability to do these deployable networks, take this mission critical network and bring it immediately, real time almost, to wherever it needs to have that connectivity. And then the other piece, John, you had in an earlier conversation, an interesting word was interdisciplinary interoperability. I probably messed that up, but what I wanted to share was this is something that we saw really take hold during COVID, where a lot of people think that these mission critical networks, FirstNet in particular, is for if you carry a gun or a hose, right? Then you have access to FirstNet, and that's absolutely the first and foremost user base that they're intending to protect. But there's also a whole host of secondary users, things like gas utility districts, things like healthcare workers. These are all really important agencies that are contributing to a disaster response.
Oh, absolutely.
Making sure the gas is turned off, make sure that's coordinated, make sure we have health workers on site to care for people that are impacted by the disaster. All those use cases, not just the absolutely protecting the first responders, but protecting all the secondary agencies that support their mission. That is also all in the picture and all part of the Ericsson solution.
Well, and from the scope of when you look at emergency operations plans, like for, municipalities or counties or, state, local, just across the board. I mean, of course, within that, there are always these emergency support functions, the ESF functions, which are defined. And when you look at that from the perspective of what you just talked about of, everybody has to be included in that interoperability, because I look at it as like three rings: primary, secondary, tertiary levels of responsibility.
Yes. Yep.
And it all has to work together. You have to have all three. And those support functions are absolutely necessary. And they have to be able to operate in real time as well. From emergency management to the street department, or, I remember when we had a tornado that came through Kansas City, Kansas, one of the most important aspects of the operation was the tree trimmers. Because we couldn't get anywhere. There were so many trees down across the road. They became a huge factor and folded into our unified command setting and that tertiary ring. So absolutely. And having the capability of your technology to bring it all together, is absolutely vital. When I was looking at how fast technology is moving, and I commented on that earlier, it's kind of mind-bending, in a way. It's kind of intimidating too, just the public safety to go, wow, where are we going next? But what's next for Ericsson in this space, do you think?
So from a public safety standpoint, we see a number of different vectors of innovation at the moment. One, of course, is on the device side, and where we see both a new type of sensors being brought in. We see video being now commonplace. And so we're building networks that can more intelligently support all of these new types of devices. And maybe on the next horizon on the device side will be augmented reality, how we can not just analyze data, but really bring that data to the front line in the best way possible. Secondly, we already touched upon AI. It's a big theme, both in terms of how AI will make the network more intelligent and smarter, making the decisions on who to prioritize at any given point in time. But of course, also AI will be one of the most important traffic types that the network will have to support. We need a network that can bring information to an edge data center location, process that in real time, and then send out an action. And so a network that is flexible enough to reconfigure based on the need and the type of processing needed is something we look into. Then thirdly, there's a lot of things happening also on the, call it push-to-talk application server side of things.
Oh, yeah.
We talk often about device-to-device communication, for example, and how that can be brought in. We talk about how the interoperability functions can be even more improved. So there's a lot of things happening on all levels, I would say. And that's bringing 5G into the picture. Then 6G will bring another set of capabilities, but that's still a few years out.
6G.
Yes.
Well, it's
Ready or not,
job security, right? We'll get all the way to 10 one day. No, in addition to what Freddie talked about, he covered a lot of the ground on the next gen. But what we want to do is we want to make sure we keep enabling cutting edge and the latest applications that this network is going to provide. So things that are going to increase mission safety of the officers, increase efficiencies within their operating their mission. We're seeing things like AI at the edge that I talked about earlier. We're seeing things like augmented reality, more technology coming in to increase that efficiency and safety. Those are all things that, from our perspective on the connected edge side, is only possible and only enabled because first the mission critical network, the infrastructure is there to support it end to end to get that transport. So,
well, I agree. And then just in discussions with fire chiefs across the country, it's kind of like what they're excited about is what you answer is the why too. It's the what, with the technology, but the why. Why do we need it? Why do we need to implement it quickly? It's because it's like the holy grail of everything we've been working towards as far as common operating platform, common operating picture. When I look at, I've been incident commander on the scene of a high-rise fire and been trying to keep track of everybody in theater, as they say.
Yep.
And have the ability to do that. I mean, and I've lost, friends that, we couldn't locate it in a fire. And, that's, and one of the reasons why I'm passionate about being involved in this, because, we're going to get to the point where that can't happen again. And what's getting us there is that partnership between, the public safety's wants, needs, and motivations, along with the technology, and a true partnership with those mission, vision, and values that are truly unique to public safety.
Absolutely.
So, in closing, I would like to, to me, this has been a very incredibly insightful discussion. When you think about where we're at now, if you look back, look in the rearview mirror, it's like, wow, we got here really quickly, and it's kind of amazing, but it's exciting. And Ericsson is clearly, playing a major role, in making sure that first responders have the tools they need, to save lives. And it comes down to that. Somebody said on stage earlier, he goes, we have a pretty simple mindset in public safety. Not that we're not sophisticated, but it's those, we identify what our needs are very quickly because we have to take action. And when you talk about, operating in real time, that's not something we desire. We have to do that. We must. And in those instances where we're handicapped or where we can't, it is frustrating, and sometimes it doesn't end well. But I think what Ericsson's doing and the technology that's emerging is getting us to where we can operate in real time with, as you said, real-time intelligence, not only from the network side, but from the information we get from the network, so we can deal with things as the ground balls are hit to us and, we're fielding them and throwing them out. That's where we need to get to. I think we're there already, but we know that there's a lot greater things to come. And so the innovation that from the research, development, and just the push that Ericsson as a company has accomplished, my hat's off to you. And on behalf of public safety, I'd like to say thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.